Hi everyone, it's Lauren, and in this video I'm going to show you all of the books that I've recently acquired since my previous book haul. My previous book haul was pretty big and I really didn't think I'd gathered that many books since that time, and it appears I actually have. So I think I'm gonna have to go on a book buying ban now. It's getting quite ridiculous. I'm running out of space in my house, but I know I say this all the time, but I really am super excited for a lot of these books that I've got. So I'll just dive straight into it and show you what I've got. The first little pile that I have here was sent to me by Penguin as part of their Pride Month book club. So it's not Pride Month anymore, unfortunately, so I'm a little bit late to the party here, but I'm really excited for these books. I'll show you which ones they've sent me. So these are all part of the book club that Penguin platform were promoting last month. The first one is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. This has been on my list for such a long time. I've not read any James Baldwin and I feel like everybody seems to love Giovanni's Room specifically, so I'm really happy to finally get my hands on this. The second one I have is Ruby Fruit Jungle by Rita Mae Brown, and this is about a young woman growing up in America and navigating the various relationships that she has, navigating adolescence, I imagine. I also have some non-fiction, so this one is Believe by Nicola Adams, which is her autobiography. I love Nicola Adams. She was the first woman to win gold at boxing in the Olympics, and she won gold again in Rio, I believe, last time, and she just seems so nice and so down to earth, and I just think it's amazing what she's achieved. This is an autobiography. I don't know how well it's going to be written. I don't actually know very much about her life. I will report back and let you know how good this book is, but as a person, absolutely love her. The other non-fiction book that they have as part of the book club is Good As You by Paul Flynn. Now this is a look at LGBT history, focusing specifically, I think, on gay men in Britain in the last 30 years. There's a lot of stuff on the telly actually at the moment about Britain's history and its relationship with LGBT issues, because this year is actually 50 years since homosexuality was decriminalised in the UK, which is quite amazing to think about, because 50 years feels like a long time, but then at the same time it feels like nothing at all. That's so recent. I mean, it's weird to think that people are alive now who were alive when being gay was a crime. I can't fathom, that seems so recent, and yet looking at how far society has come in that time is incredible. So this is looking back at the last 30 years, and I'm really interested to learn a little bit more about this and just get some history, because this isn't the kind of thing you learn about at school. So it says here, Paul Flynn charts this astonishing pop cultural and societal U-turn via the milestones that affected change, from Manchester's self-selection as Britain's gay capital to the real-time romance of Elton John and David Furnish. This is the story of Britain's brothers, cousins and sons. Sometimes it's the story of their fathers and husbands. It is one of public outrage and personal loss, highs and desperate lows, and a final collective victory as gay men were to be finally recognised. Good As You. And finally we have a graphic novel, which I must say I was most excited to receive as part of this bundle, which is 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. So this is, I don't think it's a sequel, but it's set in the same world as the Encyclopedia of Early Earth, which I read a few months ago and really enjoyed. But I have heard from people who have read this that this is even better. This is based on the on Arabian Nights, where a woman is telling stories to someone in order to stall time to avoid her girlfriend from having to be married off, I believe. I don't read graphic novels that often, but when I do, I really appreciate them as a change up in my reading flow, I suppose. Now to get on to the books that I have bought myself or been lent. So I will start with this one, which is Accession by Ian M. Banks. Now this was lent to me by my friend Katie, who has been lending me old school science fiction books after I read Auxiliary Justice last year. So I read I, Robot last month and I really enjoyed it, and then she's also lent me this one, which I think is based on, well, is similar to Auxiliary Justice in that it has ships who have AI and the story is about those, I believe. I think that's the reason she lent me this one, is because it was similar to that book. And I'm really liking this new foray into a genre that I don't normally read. It's nice to have a bit of a guide as well, to have someone to tell you what to read. The next two books I got my hands on when we went up to visit Simon at Savage Reads a few weeks ago. So the first one I picked up in a shop was The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanna Cannon, and this comes highly recommended by Simon and Mercedes. It's about a sleepy English town, I think, during the summer of 1976 when there was a huge heat wave in the UK, and I believe someone goes missing and there's lots of rumours and suspicions around the town, but it just sounds like a really nice, I was going to say cosy read, but I think it's going to be more of a summer read, this one. And the other book that was lent to me by Simon is My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. Now, we were having a little bit of a discussion over on Simon's channel, which I will link up here and in the description box below, because I'm not a huge fan of Daphne du Maurier. I liked Rebecca, really didn't like Jamaica Inn, and Simon really loves her, so he did suggest giving her another shot with My Cousin Rachel, and this was his spare copy, which he's lent me, which is very kind. So I will give it another go, and I will report back, mate, and I'll let you know what I think. The next book's a bit of a random one, but I was in Waterstones in Hampstead with Jen and Jean last weekend, I think, and I just was walking around the history section and then picked this up, and then I bought it. So I have a book on Celts now. I really like the Celts. Well, I think I do. I have lots of books about the Celts. I have lots of Celtic myths and legends books. I've always been interested in that era of history, in that kind of western part of the world, but I hardly ever actually read these books, so I don't know why I bought another one, really. I don't know enough about the writer. I don't know if it's going to be interesting, or if it's going to be a very well put together history of the Celts, but I really want to give it a go because I like non-fiction and I like history books, and I've been a little bit inspired to try and get into it, and I'm going to keep this book, I think, on like next to my bed or something, so that I definitely pick it up next. I think it's very easy, well it is for me anyway, to just continue on with fiction and never actually pick up non-fiction or history books, or just to feel like I have the urge to learn something, even though I think in my head that I want to learn. It's actually taking the time, so well, I'll let you know. So the other day I was waiting to meet my friend Stephen, and we were going to meet near Tottenham Court Road Station. I got there a little bit early, so I just said, oh, I'll meet you in Foyles, and then 10 minutes later I'd spent £50 on 4 books, so. But they were also interesting and also important, so I'm going to keep telling myself that it was a very good thing that I bought them. The first one I have here is The Descent of Man by Grayson Perry. I've already read this book, so I will leave a link to my review in the description box below. This is a pondering, I suppose, on masculinity, what it is as part of society and how we raise boys, and it's quite interesting because there's a lot of things in here which I have heard from other feminist writers or stuff that I've observed within masculinity, but it's really interesting to hear from a male perspective and hear someone put stuff into words that you know, you witness on a day-to-day basis but you don't really understand. The next book is also in those Penguin Politics editions, and that is The Establishment and How They Get Away With It by Owen Jones. I follow Owen Jones on Twitter, and at the moment it feels like politics in Britain is really bubbling up to the surface. There's a lot going on here at the moment, and this book comes highly recommended from Jean. I think it's going to be very interesting to learn about society. Well, I presume that's what I'm going to learn out in here, society and the establishment and how everything works and is put together. I imagine this book is going to be very left-leaning, so I'm going to go into it with a bit of a pinch of salt. But as I said, comes very highly recommended, and I don't think I know anybody who's read this and not loved it, so really exciting. So I have books on gender, I have books on society, and now I have a book on race, which is why I'm no longer talking to white people about race, by Rennie Edo-Lodge, who I believe was a contributor to the Good Immigrant book, edited by Nikesh Shukla, which I really enjoyed, and this is her first novel. This book has been absolutely everywhere, and a lot of people have so much praise for it. On the back you've got quotes from Marlon James, Nikesh Shukla, Paris Lees. I just think, I mean, it's about race, isn't it? I don't have anything else to say about it because I don't know, but I've just heard so many good things, and you can never have too many books about important subjects. Speaking of, the last book that I bought in Foyles was a book that I've seen bandied around BookTube and I'm so excited to read, is The Gender Games by Juno Dawson. Juno is a transgender woman, and this is what it says on the tin, basically, the problem with men and women from someone who has been both. And what's quite interesting about this book, from what I can gather from the blurb, is that this is about gender in general and about lots of different views on being gay, on feminism, anti-feminism. So I don't think it is strictly just Juno's own perspective. I think she's widened the net a little bit. And I know Simon really loved it, and I know Lauren from Lauren and the Books really loved it. So yeah, I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about gender and read a bit more about that topic. It just really interests me. And finally, a little baby pamphlet, which I picked up yesterday in Camden Market when Jen and I went past Iconica Books, and it is England, Your England by George Orwell. And the reason I picked this up, apart from the fact that it's a tiny pamphlet and it was £2, is that I saw this on Lucy on Portal in the Pages' channel, and she really enjoyed it. And this is, again, just ponderings on being English, I think, and sort of English society. So just a small book haul there. I mean, I tried to rocket through them as quickly as I could so that this video wasn't like half an hour long. I am definitely going to have to restrict how many books I buy, or maybe just buy books on my Kindle from now on, which is a bit of a shame, but it does seem a bit excessive at this point, doesn't it? I would love to hear from any of you if you have read these books already, because I've heard really good things about them, but I would love to get more recommendations from you. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!